Welcome to Our Life the Way. We're talking about off grid self care. There's one thing in life that refuses to stand still, and that's time. There's a fine line to know when to work hard and when to rest. But how do you know when that is? According to Benefits Canada, more than three-quarters of Canadian employees have experienced burnout at some point, and 35% state they're currently experiencing it. And further, burnout is higher in women as compared to men, according to the Canadian Medical Association. More than three quarters, 77%, of women say they've considered quitting their jobs over work-related issues compared to 66% of men. 90% of Canadians believe that burnout is prevalent in the Canadian workforce. The report by analytics and consulting firm Gallup found that in 2022, when workers around the world were asked if they were engaged in their work, quiet quitting, or loud quitting, 59% chose quiet quitting. Gallup defines the trend as when employees put in minimum effort required and are psychologically disconnected from their employer. 18% were loud quitting, taking actions that directly harmed their organization, undercutting its goals, and opposing its leader. Canadian numbers are worse. 2/3 of workers were quiet quitting, 13% were loud quitting. In just a few moments, we're going to share how going off-grid can improve your well-being just like it did for us. But first, like and subscribe to shake up YouTube's algorithm, ultimately showing you more of what interests you. So what we're going to share today is why people love off-grid life, benefits of off-grid living, and making time for self-care. But why listen to us? We know it's possible because we did it and are continuing to do it. We're in our 50s, no farming experience, and have minimal building exposure. But we have a huge desire for change. The past number of years pushed us to the point of hitting the "I'm so done" button. We both took a long, hard look at how we were living and decided it was not how we wanted to live. Our solution was to go back to simplicity, and that pointed us to live off-grid. So why people live off-grid, or why they love off-grid life? More and more people are moving to an off-grid lifestyle, whether partially or completely. Off-grid life gives individuals comfort of reducing carbon footprints by using alternate sources of power. For example, solar, wind, or a hybrid blend of both. It also gives the opportunity of conserving resources, water collection and reserve, gardening and food preserving, and raising animals for food and byproducts, as well as for protection. So why we love off-grid life? Going off-grid was more of a statement of going towards a simpler way of life and to go towards having more control within our lives and over our lives. Living simple by simply living. We were tired of the hamster wheel running all the time, but not getting anywhere. We were also getting more and more frustrated with food availability, the lack of it, the price of it, and the limitations and restrictions over it. So moving off grid was and continues to be a way we can create the life that we want. Live in nature, building a life from the ground up. We built our home. The heat for our home is wood, so if we want it warmer, we simply start a fire or throw another log on. Our water is rain collected as well as transported in. Our power is by generator or with a very basic solar setup. Currently, we mostly use cellular data for our internet. Where we are, it's very expensive to have a reliable internet service. So we've just opted for our cell service, getting a plan that works for us. For cooking, we use a propane stove. We use the top of our wood stove, or we use the open fire when it's conducive to do so. We built an outhouse for us. Our shower house has a rain catchment. The water is pumped with a 12-volt pump connected to a battery. This is a work in progress. We have some ideas on how to improve this, but man, did it ever feel amazing to have a cool shower on a hot day after working outside, or to have a hot shower in the evening. One time the sun was already down and I had the flashlight inside. That was kind of a different experience, but it was so cool. Something that you just don't experience on the grid. We've added laying hens for eggs, as well as meat rabbits. This is the start of our food sustainability plan. To know where and how our food is grown is a huge component for us. Waking up every morning knowing that we've created the life we have gives us so much joy. We named our homestead Heaven's Edge because it truly feels like our own piece of heaven. Now let's look at the benefits of off-grid living. There are a number of benefits of the off-grid life, first of which is cost savings. After the initial cost or setup costs, and this will be dependent on your needs and the size of your homestead or your farm, utility bills could be substantially less, if not completely eliminated. Therefore, month-to-month cost of living can be extremely affordable. Reducing carbon footprints is another huge benefit or result of living off-grid. In fact, it could be considered the most socially responsible decision to detach from the grid for power and natural resources. In a world where it can be debated that the people living on the planet Earth are actually destroying it, if more people took to living off-grid, it would decrease the load. Less people using already overused and deteriorating power grids. While there's many benefits of the use of technology, there are many that are experiencing mental burnout and negative effects from it. This is yet another push to detach from electronics and head to an off-grid lifestyle. It can be a bit like shell shock or to even experience withdrawal symptoms. But the draw to nature and a more modern pioneer life is climbing in popularity. It may not mean complete disconnection, but a reduction in use and connectivity and recharge with nature is highly sought after and brings about increased serotonin levels, thus producing a heightened sense of purpose and empowerment. So let's talk benefits of living off-grid. When my partner Lars and I decided to go off-grid, we knew our lifestyles would change. We expected our outdoor activity to drastically increase, whereas before we were living a lifestyle of very sedentary lifestyle. We expected our eating habits to improve and our resiliency and resolve to be stretched. We have achieved that and so much more. We discovered parts of our souls that were dormant within us and that came alive with every day we lived out our dream. We worked hard day in and day out, but it strengthened more than our bodies. It strengthened our minds. We were empowered by our efforts. Were there challenges? 100%, but those challenges helped us grow together. We found solace in our surroundings, listening to the chipmunks that drove our dog Phoenix crazy. Hearing the birds chirping, noticing there were different ones in the morning than at night, recognizing the way the wind would blow and bend the birch trees that circled our property. And we also noticed how the evergreens held their form. Breathing fresh, clean air, but also having that taste of salt from the ocean that would blow in. Very different from what we were used to. For as many sounds that we hear, we also hear the sound of silence. It is so peaceful. Isn't that what most people are searching for in life? Peace? And we have that. So let's take a look at making time for self-care. While living off-grid creates a sense of self-care, there still needs to be a conscious form of self-care while we live off-grid. We could easily work every day because there's always something to do. And most times we do work, even if it's just a little bit. The thing about having a super small living space, 12 by 20 exterior, and even less inside, is that when the weather is crappy outside, we often chill inside. But aside from that, there are times I have insisted on taking a breather. So making time for self-care. In reality, for us, I'm usually the one that is initiating break times, making sure we drink enough water, having a snack or stopping for a meal, or even taking time for a complete time out and head to the beach or go to town. And that's not because I'm being lazy. It is very simply because if we don't take a break, we will get hurt, we'll get dehydrated, or we will burn out. And if one of us gets hurt or sick, that means the other person is left with the brunt of what needs to get done, or it delays us completely because we can't do anything. Now, crap happens, right? Life happens, and you can't change that. But if we can help avoid some of those issues where we can, it just makes sense. So let's face it, we are not spring chickens. We're in our 50s. We need to work smarter and not take unnecessary risks. Self-care means taking care of yourself. It is not selfish, and it is not something doing what you need in order to survive or your simple hygienic day-to-day duties like brushing your teeth or bathing. It is a conscious effort to take care of your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So now you've got the goods. For a bit of a recap, we covered why people love off-grid life, benefits of off-grid living, and making time for self-care. So thank you so much for watching this session. And remember to subscribe to Our Life the Way. And we will see you on the next session.